Western Field Model 30. I want to talk about rabbit holes, ladies and gentlemen. This one will take us through the doors of the largest competitor of Sears and J.C. Higgins, which was a company called Montgomery Ward. Along the way, we're going to pay a stop at Crossman Air Gun Company. Some backstabbing moves by their O-ring supplier, Monroe Gasket Company, who sidestepped into being the Rochester Arms Division, which was bought out by Kessler Arms of New York, who switched from pellet guns to shotguns before they went bankrupt. Got bought out by Numrich, Ruger, and a lawnmower shop, which somehow brings us back to Marlin and T.R. Robinson Jr., his patents, Ewald Nicole, the designers of the Marlin Model 88, 80, 99, and Model 60, which just so happens to be where we're starting off from. It's a rabbit wormhole. I bet you've never been here before. Let's go. Milsurp Garage. Man, we got a lot to cover. You would think, once again, these department store brands, right? You would think that these videos would be simple, cut and dried. There's actually more history with these. Fascinating, these things. Well, what is this? It's a Western Field Model 30. Okay, these were made from 51 to 53. That's it. Very small window. They were a store brand for Montgomery Ward. Montgomery Ward was around from 1872 to 2001. Long history as a business. They were mostly like a mail order catalog kind of company. They were one of the biggest competitors for Sears for a long period. So you can consider these and the J.C. Higgins guns to be, direct competitors. That's definitely what you would be making the choice between if you were looking for one of these, And the barrel code, the Western Field barrel codes, different than the J.C. Higgins barrel codes, which were kind of like a 3-digit number with a decimal and then another 3-digit number, like that kind of thing. These were more like a series of letters and numbers. So they were like, this one is a 25 EKN-162A. And that's actually on there. Let's take a look at what the scrolling actually looks like on these things. What do you look at when you're actually going to identify it just by looking at the scrolling on the barrel? Western Field Model 30. There it is, 25 EKN-163A. That's the Western Field designation. And this number, it changes depending on what little variations you have. This guy is 16 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, full choke, and patent pending. And that's all we got on here. That's the only identifiers going by what's on there. That's it. The rest is all just features. Let's talk about the features. Let's just, before we get into the history, let's narrow it down with this guy. So this guy's manufacturing is from 52, April 52. It actually has the date stamped on the barrel on the underneath. So if you poke around with one of these and you're really curious about the year, which is kind of cool. Of course, the more it's narrowed down by a small production period, then you always get the year. When it's like a 30-year production period, you never have anything to narrow it down. But if it was 51 to 53, I could kind of figure out that it's probably 52, But of course, that's when they'll give you an exact month and year. So this guy is 16 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, like we said, 28-inch barrel, full choke. It's a 2-round internal mag in here. Okay, so for hunting, purposes, like for the rules regarding hunting, you get 2 rounds in here, 1 in the chamber. That would be your legal limit. It's like kind of set up just that way. The Model 30, this Model 30, you could have gotten it in 12, 16, or 20 gauge, 26 or 28-inch barrels. I'm pretty sure they were all full choke and all 2 and 3/4 inch. There were no 3-inch capable guns, you know. And who is the manufacturer? We all know Ward Westernfield did not make their own shotguns. So if it wasn't Sears, who was it? I mean, if it wasn't Montgomery Ward making the guns, just like Sears had manufacturers. Yes, it was Kessler Arms Corporation. Here's where the rabbit hole gets uncovered. So let's go. You think it'd be nice and easy? Kessler, there you go. A lot of you are like, who the hell is Kessler? Well, here we go. It all starts in 1946. Crossman Airgun Company. All right, we're not even talking about shotguns. Just Crossman Airguns. They've been around since 1924. They're old school. They had a supplier, okay, that did their gaskets, O-rings, seals. You know, there's a lot of rubber seals and O-rings and stuff like that inside of these air guns. Place was called Monroe Gasket and Manufacturing Company. And they were in Rochester, same as Crossman. They were like neighbors there. You know, they had a good thing going. Crossman's making the guns. Hey, we're making your O-rings and your seals. And I think they go off, you know, till happily ever after. But during World War II, you see a lot of these, when you go through the history of these guns, there's a lot of upheaval, a lot of major changes happened around World War II because a lot of these companies, they started producing for the war effort. And these things can change the company forever. It could either make it that when the war is over, the company fails, or that when the war is over, the company is just different now. Like, and that's kind of like what happened with this Monroe Gasket Company. They during World War II, they were tasked with making more than just gaskets. So in 1946, when the war was over, they decided, well, instead of just making these O-rings and Crossman's making tons of money making these guns, we have experience now. Maybe they were doing some of the tooling and making gun parts. So they're like, we got all the stuff, we're ready to go here. We'll just make our own air gun. And we got the seals already, and we'll just stamp out our own air gun bodies and we'll just make air guns. And that's exactly what they did. And they were making pellets too. So here's some of the literature, like ads that they had going on. They called it the Rochester Precision Air Rifle, and it was the Rochester Arms Division of Monroe Gasket and Manufacturing Company. And strangely, their gun looked a lot like the what was it? The Crossman 101 air rifle. It looked really similar. I mean, it was plainly obvious that it was a straight up copy. There is no, like, couldn't find an actual citation that was saying this is true, but there were a lot of rumors that they had, let's say, appropriated some of the Crossman workers as well, and maybe a designer or something like that. So it might have just been more than just copying the design. They might have actually had some of the personnel that jumped ship. But as it was, it didn't really last. So in 1948, they were done. They were throwing in the towel. Couldn't compete with Crossman, and the design and all of their gasket and air gun making stuff was all sold off to Kessler Manufacturing of Buffalo, New York. Now, I think if I had to guess, I would say that Kessler. It's really tough. I'm doing tons of research trying to find out that when they were in Buffalo, before they bought up this airgun company, what they actually did, and all I could find was that it was just called Kessler Manufacturing. Sounds kind of like they were machinists, like that kind of thing. That's the kind of business that they were in, and being that in a little while we're going to show the head of Kessler. It was really tough to find out who is Kessler, you know, but I found it through a patent, and this was This was a tough one, but I found it. There's a lot of research in this guy. As much as like I really do love doing these videos, but I love the research. The hundreds I want to put in hundreds of hours on this one. This was a big one. Been doing this for a while, and can't find out what Kessler actually did, but found a patent that makes me think they were machinists because of what the guy's inventing. You know what I mean? Now, when Kessler bought bought up this air rifle, they moved south to Silver Creek, New York. So you could see a difference in a lot of the sales were before. A lot of the advertising stuff was before, and they had a huge marketing department. You could tell they had a big push sending stuff to sporting goods stores, and they definitely had a big marketing push to put their products forward, to show the products that they had. They made targets, pellets, and gun racks. They kind of appropriated all the stuff that Monroe had, or if you want to call it the Rochester Arms Division of Monroe. In 1950, so they're making these air guns for a couple of years. I guess things were going pretty good. But again, might have been tough to compete with Crosman selling a copy of their gun, which was a really good gun. So they switched gears and they said, well, we're going to do our own thing here too. We're going to make shotguns. Kessler decided to go into the shotgun business, 1950. So in 1950 is where this patent was too. Let me show you that. I'll show you that right off the bat. So what was this Kessler patent? Here it is. The Kessler patent was in 1950. He filed this in 1950. This was granted in 53, just in time for them to go out of business. But the patent was for the manufacture of a smooth-bore gun barrel. Whether or not you're interested in this rifle, this shotgun or not, pull this patent and just read this thing. This is, if you're just into guns, this is awesome. This guy figured out, this isn't just one of those nonsense patents for just some simple little, like, minute design change. You got to read this. This is what makes me think that this guy was a machinist. This guy figured out a different way. What's patented in here is the way to actually manufacture the barrel, as well as its properties and how it is. Check this out. It's not the first gun that I've seen like this. We've looked at a few 22s that were like this, but not many. So we're at the back of the receiver here, okay? And we're going forward. We're still in the receiver. Still part of the receiver. Still part of the receiver. Interesting, right? See, in the United States, the receiver is the gun. The receiver. Not the barrel. I think in Europe, some places, I think the barrel has the serial numbers and all that, whatever. It's obviously pre-68, so we don't have to worry about serial numbers. But the point I'm saying is that this right here, this is the receiver. If there was some kind of number here or something or whatever, you couldn't file that off. You couldn't do it. This is the whole thing is the receiver. It's just one big piece. And we'll take the wood off in a little while and we really be able to appreciate that from a perspective of just looking at it like this. And again, I know there's 22s like that. I know we've looked at some guns that were like that. But what's amazing about it being a shotgun barrel, he even explains in the patent how, it's not like cylinder choke all the way down, and then at the end, there's the screw-in choke where the constriction is like right here to bring it to full. The barrel itself, and in the patent, he lists that they could be made modified, improved cylinder, whatever. But if you know that these have been produced in other than full chokes, let me know. But I'm pretty sure because the manufacturing required that the barrels couldn't all be made the same, just with a screw-in choke or whatever, or just the end of the barrel would be, this part right here would be what determined the choke size, the constriction. It's the whole barrel. So it starts from here and tapers all the way smooth to the end, whether it's full, improved cylinder, modified, whatever it is. There is no abrupt change down here. The entire barrel would be different. And he shows that in the patent here. See, like where the constriction is, and that it travels the whole length of the barrel, where it's amazing. Really, really cool. Really cool manufacturing idea, like for shotguns. I dug it. And this is Kessler, P.D. Kessler. So there we go. We have his name. Do we have more of his name here? Paul D. Kessler. And this is how I knew for sure. You'd be surprised when you start doing research on Google how many Paul D. Kesslers you come up with that invented things. Like, there's stuff, even modern stuff, whatever. The Google searches are a mess, and you have to pour through a ton of stuff. There's just so much information on the internet now, database, that even that name just brings up so much stuff. But the Silver Creek, New York, right here, that's what, and the year, obviously, and what he's talking about, is what brought this to me. And then no other patents for this guy. You know what I mean? Just this one. Now the thing about it is that the patents for the gun itself are can't find anything. I can't find anything else. I found this barrel, but that was it. So what did this guy, what did Kessler put out here in 1950? 1951, they introduced a Model 30 bolt action in 12, 16, 20 gauge, 26 and 28 inch barrel, and a Model 50 Lever-matic. Hope one day to be doing a video on one of those, because those are awesome. They have their own little history. We're going to touch on it a little bit, but I can't start dual rabbit holing. I'm going to lose my mind if I start getting into that one too much. We're going to touch on it a little bit, just for the history of the company. But the Lever-matic was a lever action shotgun. Not many of those around, levers. That one was also 12, 16, 20 gauge, 26 and 28 inch barrel. They both had 2-round internal mags, so they're both 2+1s. Now, here's the thing. When this gun first got released, I don't have actual information showing. So early production, I'm pretty sure. This is where there's a lot of convoluted research, but I'm pretty sure there was a single shot version. The first one that came out when he first decided, I'm going to make shotguns, patented that barrel, got the manufacturing stuff together, started making shotguns. I think they were single shot, and the 12 gauge was a 128F, the 16 gauge was a 228F, and the 20 gauge was a 326F. And where I got this information from was one of their marketing flyers, okay, had a little part on the top. I'm going to zoom in on it here, where it actually said, these are discontinued. We don't ask for these anymore. We don't have them, because now they have a 2-round internal magazine. So now they're called, the 12 gauge was the 128. I'm sorry, that was just the Model 30, and the Model 50. And then after those were out for a while, they came out, they brought that number, that 128 thing back, but now they were detachable magazines. The 12 gauge was the 128 FR, 16 gauge was the 228 FR, the 20 gauge was the 326 FR. Now you hear a lot of bad things about these shotguns. Online you read there were a lot of people saying they were junk. Now, a lot of that comes from these detachable magazines. He did not have that down pat. They were supposedly very problematic. That's where the trouble was with getting these magazines to work. So if you could find one of those single shot ones, they might actually be worth a lot of money. I don't know if he just decided that's how they were going to be made, put out the publicity stuff, and then changed it without ever making one, because I never actually saw a picture of one or saw one for sale. When you research this gun, you find a lot of auction stuff. I don't mind the auction results, because they usually have pictures and a description of what it is. So in the auction results, I actually found out that they had one in 20 gauge called a Huntmaster. That was the bolt action. A Model 30 and 20 gauge was called a Huntmaster. I never saw that anywhere else. It wasn't in any of the stuff I read on the history. Just I saw an auction for one. It definitely said that on it. There was another one that said Buffalo Bill Cody model. Wouldn't have known that existed if it wasn't for seeing it in an auction. And also, I saw ads for for bolts where it would say 16 and 20 gauge. It's like one guy, I was like, oh, I guess he's just got a few of each. But then I kept seeing that a few different places. The bolt, it was just one bolt sitting there, bolt for sale. It's for a Kessler, bolt action, 30, model 30, 16 and 20 gauge. So are the 16 and 20 gauge bolts the same? I don't know, but I saw at least 3 for sale that said that. So that's where you start to get information from these auctions. Like I said, I don't mind them. There's always a lot of information in these auctions. So, right. So first, I think was the single shots. Next, I believe was after those were the internal mags, then the external mags. I would go with this type of internal mag if I were you. This might have some issues. We'll get to that later, but one of the issues definitely is not feeding out of the magazine. It works every single time. The only other models I could say, there was a 30C and a 50C, which had a selective choke device. It was like some type of barrel end device. It's tough to get a close-up picture of it. Then I did find some close-up pictures of it, and it definitely, at first I thought it was maybe just a compensator, but then I see that it is actually a selective choke. It doesn't look like a very high-quality one, but that's what the C at the end of them is, 30C and 50C. Now, a lot of other people were saying, I have a Kessler Model 300. What's the story with this thing? Now, at first I was thinking that maybe it said 30C, and the C was kind of big, and it was right after it, and then maybe it was a C where the ends of it were kind of very closed off. So it looked like it said 300, but it was really 30 Cs. Then somebody in a chat thread actually said, are you sure it's not a 30C? And the guy said, nope, I looked really close. It definitely says 300. So there was a 300. I don't know. I tough to tell, but I just figured I'd put it out there and let you know there's more than one person that said they had a Model 300. So those are the models. They were humming along. That's what they had going on. Now, June of 1953, unfortunately, they declare bankruptcy. Now, what happens with this Kessler company from here on is truth is stranger than fiction. They say, well, first of all, Smith's, a local lawnmower shop in upstate New York, a lawnmower shop, they purchased, and this isn't a chain of lawnmower shops. This is like, Jack Smith. I don't know if his name was Jack, but I'm just saying Smith, Mr. Smith from the Smith's lawnmower shop purchased all the air gun parts and accessories, everything air gun related from them. And they sold these, supposedly. There's a lot of information on this, so I believe it. They sold them for years as a do-it-yourself kit. Like, you would go to Smith's lawnmower shop and you would buy air guns like from the 50s that was manufactured in the 50s all the way up into the late 90s, supposedly. And they could put one together for you for a fee, or you could they just give you the parts in a bag, and you were putting together a brand new one. Parts were brand new. And that's why you see a lot of these that are like near mint, though. Those the Kessler air guns that look like the Crossman 101, and you see a lot of those mint is because of that. And a lot of the parts are marked from, what was it again? From the Rochester Arms Division of Monroe Gasket and Manufacturing Company, because of those parts sat around for so long. An interesting thing about that, this goes even a step further. In my research, I just saw something on a chat forum. There was a guy. All right, I had to redact this because he was throwing names around like crazy, and I don't know if it's true or not. There's like last names were involved and everything. And I'm like, I don't want to put anybody's whole full name, but apparently this guy was saying, my brother knew a guy that had that bought the Crossman Exchange turn-ins. So it was the actual Crossman guns that were, I don't know, for some reason exchanged or turned in, whatever. They were broken, defective, who knows, or just I need this fixed, and they just decided to give him a new one. So he bought all of those and all of the lawnmower Kessler stuff. It was like a whole lot that was for sale, and this guy's brother bought it all, and then I guess he was storing it on his property. And then it doesn't actually say his brother died, but I just got a feeling he's like, I'm getting rid of all this stuff, and it was my brother. So I kind of get the feeling that his brother had died. And he was like, if you're interested, PM me. And this was years ago. Not that many years ago, but it wasn't like back from like the 60s. This is like modern day, okay? And he apparently sold all of that stuff off. That's insane that even all the way up to the modern day, the piles of those airgun parts were still available for someone to buy a lot. Insane. So Ruger supposedly purchased all of the tooling and the steel, and the tooling supposedly it was a big thing. It was supposedly like 10% of what the tooling was worth. They paid like just a fraction of what the stuff cost. That stuff costs a lot of money. When you see manufacturing equipment that makes stuff, whatever, it could be like the company, like Ruger, let's say, could use the same die stamps and the same stuff for years. It costs so much to make those machines, to buy those machines, and to make the tooling. You'd be really surprised how long they use even die stamps that stamp stuff out and things like that. That stuff is a fortune. Supposedly they got all of that stuff for a steel, and the steel. They stole the steel. They got the steel for a steel. It was even the metal that they bought. And interestingly, this is not a rumor. This is real, because I'll show you, because it's in their catalog. Numrich Arms, which is Gun Parts Corporation in West Hurley, New York, purchased all the Kessler shotgun parts at an auction. They have a huge inventory to this day. If you want to get a shotgun that if it breaks, you're always going to get a part for it, buy one of these. Even though as obscure as they are, oh man, Numrich bought it all. And so much so, listen to this. Someone at Numrich sent a complete Model 50 Levermatic to Ewald Nicole. This is the designer, Marlin's designer of the Model 60, and TJ Robinson Jr., the Model 88. We were just doing that gun. And see how this is like a small family, right? No matter how much you try to depart from the last video, somehow you always cycle around and you're back into talking about the same people. Very small family here, right? Well, Marlin, they worked out a deal with the original patent holders. Oh, how I wish I could find the original patent holders. It's supposedly for the Model 50 we're talking about. So that's why I'm saying there's a whole separate history just for that gun. But I could not find those patents. It's supposed to be like a short throw lever. I know the Browning BL-22. I know I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it anywhere. There was a short throw lever patent that was from 2017. That couldn't have been it. I don't know. I couldn't find it. I just could not find what they were talking about. But they apparently they worked out a deal with the original patent holders. And there's a rumor that they were the people that ran the shop for Kessler. They were like the shop manager is the guy that had the patent. So Kessler didn't have the patent on this Model 50 Levermatic. It was supposedly like his shop, the guy that ran his shop. But I couldn't find out who that guy is. I couldn't get anything. Believe me, I tried. In 1956, though, they were awarded a patent on a modified design of this Levermatic. And here it is. And I saw this when we were pulling the patents for T.R. Robinson Jr., I saw this one there, and I'm like, oh, we're not doing this gun. We're doing a 22 semi-automatic. We don't have to worry about his lever gun patent. But here we go. It didn't take long. Filed in 1954. As soon as Kessler went out of business, and all this stuff was bought up, and Numrich showed them this gun. There you go. T.R. Robinson Jr. is making a few modifications, getting permission so he doesn't get in trouble for infringing on the existing patent, which I can't find, and makes a patent. And with that patent, look, I'm going to show you. See this one? 2455644. I was thinking this had something to do with it. I don't know why, but there's a lot of connections somehow. And this is Remington. So this was 1944, filed and approved, granted in 48. Somehow this is involved. Somehow this was referenced in the patents, and there's these updates. Sometimes in the patents they put these corrections. I don't know. I'm thinking that patent had something to do with it, but I couldn't put it together. Maybe one of you guys could do that. But yeah, this is the patent for the, let's see, what was it again? The Marlin Model 56 Levermatic, which was followed by the 57 Levermatic. So there you go. Unfortunately, the bolt action gun died there. It's not like Marlin made one of those. But the Kessler building in Silver Creek, New York still stands if you want to go visit. It's some machining manufacturing company. 16 Mechanic Street. So if you're ever in Silver Creek, New York, you can swing by there and give them a what's up. So yeah, let's take a look at this thing. Now that we did all of that talking, yeah, let's poke around. Let's look at its competitor. This is why in 1952, its main competitor was probably the J.C. Higgins. Right now, if you remember, this is our J.C. Higgins. What was this one again? Where is it? I wrote it down so I don't forget the number. It's the 583.20 was the 12 gauge. This is the 583.21. This is in 16 gauge. Same as this guy. These guys really are direct competitors. But remember, go back and check out this gun. Maybe I'll put a link down in the description if you want to check it out, this video on this one. The 16 gauge, I think, was recalled along with the 12 gauge, but the 16 gauge wasn't really the problem. But I think Sears just recalled all of them just to be sure. But the 12 gauges were snapping off chunks of the receiver here, which is bad news because just like these, you see the locking lug right here where the bolt handle goes in. That's the locking lug. Without this, if you took this piece right here and just broke it off, and the bolt didn't sink down into this recess right here, and you pulled the trigger, the bolt would just go, there's nothing stopping it from just going straight out the back. So if this broke off, you'd be in a lot of trouble. And then watch the video. There's also this screw, this retaining screw right here. They were thinking might have been the problem. That it would just, the screw would come out, and that's how you get the bolt out. So when guys would cycle it, they would hit themselves in the eye with the back of the bolt. I don't know. We weren't sure back then, but my consensus was that they were breaking because the having to make a cut in the side of the receiver right here for the bolt to be able to slide back and forth would really thin this out on the 12 gauge. The 16 gauge and the 20 gauge, they had more meat here, you know? So being that these were getting recalled and there was like bad news about it, but I don't know if the recall was actually way back in the 50s, might have been way later, but there might have been rumors going on around that these things do blow your face off if that the receivers were snapping. Who knows? But it's very similar. They are 16 gauge. This one's modified choke, but 2 3/4 inch chamber. So the J.C. Higgins gun, was having some problems that people may or may not have known about, but that could have potentially been a good thing to, increase their popularity. But they did go out of business, didn't they? So how do you load this guy? Let's take a look. Yeah, there's no bells and whistles. Oh, look, see the butt plate, butt pad. See that? It's just a blank boss on here. While here, I'll throw up a shot. This is the Kessler one, actually said Kessler on it. You'd think they would cost more money to make blanks, to have a special one just to make a blank, but I guess they couldn't put the word Kessler on it. So yeah, and here's the this is the safety. Pretty cool safety. I mean, your thumb is right there. You know, that's not a bad spot for it. To take it off, putting it on is a little bit of a pain in the ass, but taking it off when you need it off. The only thing is that it doesn't make a lot of noise. That would scare something away. And where were we? Oh, I'll show you the how it loads here. Typical for these, not anything different. I have empty holes here because I do not have 16 gauge snap caps, so we're gonna have to go with the empty holes. But this is even better because I could show you there is a little bit of an issue with it. It's not the magazine here, but I'll show you. So this is how you do it. You load 2 in the mag. You put 1 in the chamber first, then 2 in the mag. You push the rounds down just so the bolt can cover, and then you close the bolt. Now you're ready to go with 3 shot, safety on, and you got 3 shot capacity. That's what you had. And that's the problem. The problem with this gun is this extractor. And I think if I wind up closing this real slow and then pulling it slow, no, see, it still didn't grab it. If I hold the extractor here against the rim, see, I'll grab it. There's an issue here. Now, I could go to Numrich. Here's a picture. I could go to Numrich because they do have tons of parts. And here's the extractor. Actually, I might have got this picture off eBay or something like that. Somebody said this might not be the Numrich picture, but they look like this. I could try a new one. It's not like it's a fortune, but listen, I'm getting by so far. It is what it is. Here, let me show you. Let me just show you the this is the Numrich catalog here. That big fat. Look at the size of this thing. Oof. This is their catalog. And here's confirmation right here. There was a huge quantity, over 750,000 of these guns made in Silver Creek, New York, way upstate under their many brand names. We purchased the remaining parts at the federal bankruptcy sale in 1950. Most of Kessler's equipment was old and worn, but they had 2 brand new stock carving machines on which the paint was barely dry. Nice. They could carve 16 pieces at a time. One was bought by Ithaca. I missed that the first time. So you had Ithaca and Ruger. And the other was bought by Crossman Arms. Got them back, huh? Crossman got them back at about 10% of their new cost. I read that somewhere else too. This model was sold under many brand names, most parts interchanged with the Model 30C, which is listed. The Model 128 FR had a detachable box magazine. So the 128 FR, one interesting thing with that. The 128 FR was the 12 gauge detachable box magazine. That one became the Westernfield Model 15K. I had seen this 15K knocking around and didn't know what the hell that was, but figured it out. That when they moved to the, I guess the, just going like, yeah, let me get one of those 128 FRs. That's just, it's just an odd designation that I think that was the popular one, the 12 gauge with the detachable mag. So they just went, you know what, let's just call it the 15K. All right, we'll add a K to it, the 15K. So I think they simplified things like that. But anyway, so then we got down, this is the Levermatic. And here's the pellet gun. And the Model 30. And here, Kessler's Last Gasp we have down here. This was not really a bad gun, but less than 15,000 were made. Oh, they're talking about the Levermatic. 15,000, less than 15,000 were made and sold before bankruptcy. We sold a few more thousand as assemble yourself kits. The extremely short lever stroke, controlled by part number 37 over here, is what made it interesting and worthwhile. We supplied sample guns and parts to Marlin for study. This later became Marlin's 22 Levermatic. There was a patent, not Kessler's, on the short stroke design on which Marlin paid a royalty of $1 per gun produced. Couldn't you just list the patent? I want to know what that patent is. Bothering me, I cannot find it. That's why it took so long to do this video. I wanted that patent. Couldn't find it. So where are we again? Yeah, let's see if it'll be nice to me and actually eject one. There we go. Not a total loss. See, it works more often than not. And some ammo, you know how like see these holes have this like, it's like scratchy kind of, but you know like how those nitro, what are those ones? Nitro, they're gold and they're like really smooth. I have a feeling if I got some of those in 16 gauge that I'd have a lot less problems. But so what do you try to do to mitigate that? Let's take a look. It's not really easy to get this bolt out because see how far this sticks out over there? Let's get in. We gotta zoom a little bit. Let's get a little bit more light. Can we get more light if possible? Does that do anything? Let's get this bolt out. Ah, yeah. One quick move. That's how to do that. So here's the, we put the extra light, then we get a shadow. Here's the extractor here. Hope I didn't say ejector for it. The ejector is fine. It's the extractor. You see how they kind of filled that with some solder? I don't know why that's like that. I've only seen ones other people have for sale where I could tell it has that, like some close-up views, I could see that in there. It probably stops this from, it makes this stronger. It's like a gusset to stop this from bending, the tip from bending. Otherwise, it constantly having to, if a round is in here, it constantly having to pull, would eventually bend this out. So it's kind of like they drop that in there to gusset it to make it stronger, I would think. But you see, the problem is that these are Aguila, and they're kind of rounded here by this part right here. It's not just a very sharp edge. It's like I put my nail here and pull, even it just pops off. It's very rounded. So I'm thinking it might even be like different kinds of ammo. See, like in here, if I just see how easy it just pops out. It doesn't really grip it that tight. And you see on this side, that little ridge in there goes in the rim. That's nice. That's like just a little, not very positively located here. It's kind of floaty because of that. Thinking if this was sharper, I did try to sharpen that just a little. See how it's rounded near the bottom? That's interesting too, right? I tried to like sharpen it a little bit. You can kind of see that I kind of tried to just take the burr off and maybe make that a little sharper. But I don't want to mess around too much. And it made a little bit of a difference, but didn't cure it completely. So you know what? The only thing you could do is it's just one screw. You just take the screw out and it takes 2 seconds. Might just try one. Try one that's like the ones in the pictures here. Look a little sharper. They don't have the gusset, so it makes you wonder. Makes you wonder if they redesigned it or if the replacement ones are just cheaper. And then what happens is it's a pain in the ass to reinstall this because of how far that sticks out. See, and then you might say too, like, why don't you bend it? This looks like it's all bent out, like bend that in so it holds it better. Well, I'm going to show you why I don't do that. I'm going to show you. Hold on. Let me get this around here. Just want to be careful putting it together because you got to kind of force it a little bit. And I want to make sure when things are snug where you got to force them, then you got to be careful because you could break stuff if it's not exactly right. There you go. All right. Had to be perfectly inside that line where it goes there. So now the reason why I don't bend it in, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to show you. I'll show you where I'm at. Believe me, guys. I'm pouring over it. Trust me. Let's get in there. All right. You see right here? That's where that extractor, let me get a pointer. So this spot right here with this ramp, see this ramp right here? The extractor hits here and rides up this ramp, and that's what detaches it, because it has to detach from the rim, because the rim has to push all the way cleanly in the bore. And if you looked in there, there's like a shiny ring in the bore right in there, where that the rim has to seat into perfectly, and then the bolt comes right across the top of it and holds it right in there. So you can't have the extractor in the way. So it rides up this ramp right here to detach it from the round like this. So when it's closing, it hits right here. Matter of fact, let's do this like real like. Let's pick up a round, and just easier said than done. Let's pick up a round. Can we pick up a round? Wow, now it decided to just really get jammed, and I'm zoomed in, and it's terrible. All right, let's see. Can I hold this with my finger? And all right, so I got it. Okay. So when you're closing here, it can't stay here behind the rim. It has to get out of there so the receiver can go right up against this rim. So that's why they put that thing in there to lift it. See how? Watch, it'll lift it up and out of the way. See that? And then you close. So now it's not attached behind that rim anymore. So because that has to be bent up here, if I bent this, let's eject that now. If I bent this any further down, let's say I bent this down that way to grip the edge of the round better, when this closes, look, it's just hitting right there. It's just, if I go any lower, it's going to bind right here. It's just going to bind, and it's not going to ride up that ramp. The fact that it's going up that ramp, it can't go any lower. If I push this down lower, it's just going to bind right on the edge of that ramp, and it's not going to ride up it like that. So, to all those that might have thought they could cure the problem like that, you can't. What you really need is a extractor that's sharp, and this just might be compromised from years and years of sitting in this parked position. So it's just predisposed to be out, and when it's down, it's not really keeping this position, because that's where it feels more comfortable. The metal's comfortable there, not here. Just can't wait to get back to there, and that just doesn't give it enough grip to work every time, to work reliably. So if it had a problem, that's the problem. Did not take the bolt apart. There's screws here that are staked. I'm not messing with that. When I see staked, they're here, staked here also. You could see that. These are staked. I'm not messing around. I gun scrubbered it out and blew it out with compressed air and oiled it, and then let it drip dry overnight, so it's not filled with oil but totally lubricated, but I don't have to worry about rust, and that cleans it as good as it would get cleaned taken apart, and I'm not messing around. The receiver is supposed to be made out of this really good steel. It looks good. Let's get in there. I said I would take it apart. I almost forgot. If I would have ended this video without taking it apart, you might have been pissed. Let's close the bolt. Should be just this one screw right here. That should be enough to take this whole thing apart. You know what? Just going with the bit. A little less chance of slippage with just the bit. I think that's all we need. And yeah, no capture. Comes out completely. Let's hope it falls out of the stock. Does it? I remember it was a little weird. I don't remember why, but there we go. It's out. So yeah, so there's this inside, like a recoil stock protector. There's the cross bolt right there, and the main bolt. This will stop it from splitting. That'll work. Here's the internal mag, and this looks a lot like the detachable box magazine. So they basically kept it the same. They just made that detachable instead of screwed on. Looks a lot like the detachable magazine ones. But again, I hear only bad things about those. It's all the bad talk about this gun revolves around that. What did I just step on? Like I just stepped on a piece of glass. Even in the middle of a video, I'm getting rid of that, but I can't find it. So yeah, there you go. 452. It's right there. Nothing dramatic in here. You know what I mean? Just these same basic. Yeah, let's see. How tight is that? I'm curious. If that safety could be just a touch tighter, I would like that. Let's see. Let's see if I could just put like just a little nudge on that screw right there. There you go. Perfect. It should be just a little bit tighter. Yeah, better. I like that. Yeah, so it's a little ball detent there. Nice quality with the ball and not just the spring steel. And yeah, there it is. Here's the patented barrel construction. And here's the front sight. Kind of like we're a little out of focus. Kind of like a cool front sight, not a brass bead. It's like white. Is that white brass? What is that? Kind of like octagonal shaped. So let's cut to the chase. How did it shoot? Well, I have a short video for you because I couldn't bear to show like a long chunk of a video where I was missing 1,000 times. But I shot a bunch of games with it. This was like midway in there, or more towards the end. I started to improve a little bit with it. I don't know what it was. I couldn't hit anything with this thing. It was terrible. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. I like to just say like I'm just terrible with Kessler shotguns. But I did kind of start to put it together towards the end, and I realized, when you're trying to find out where it's hitting, like where is it patterning? Every gun is different. I've been doing this trap shooting a long time, and I've been using all kinds of old shotguns. You know, could you imagine me going to the shotgun range, like to the trap range, what I'm bringing? It bugs people out. You know what I mean? And like I know every one of them has its own thing, its own point of aim, where you got to aim. You got to aim high, you got to aim low, you got to lead a lot with this gun. They're all different, and of course with different barrel lengths, different chokes. I mean, the little idiosyncrasies are just they're endless. But this one wins an award, and the award is, here it is, the Milsurp Garage Unbroken Clay Award. Dun, 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 goes to the Western Field. It goes to the Western Field / Kessler. I don't know. Do we really call it a Kessler? I think we just go, listen, Montgomery Ward wanted to put their name on it, so we go with the Western Field Model 30. That's who gets the Milsurp Garage Unbroken Clay Award. And it deserves it. So at first I was literally shooting single digits. I was getting 6s, 8s, and then I got like a 9. I was like, this is crazy. I don't know where the hell I'm trying to aim high, low, front of it, behind it, all around it. I don't know what the hell's going on. And I was just I tried 7s, I tried 8s. This stuff was, what is this? Is this 1 ounce? It was just regular. I mean, yeah, it's a Gila. It's not like horrible ammo. It wasn't the ammo. It wasn't. I think I found out what it was. What it is that I really had to cover the target. So like if I'm shooting, if the bird is here, it's not like my bead is under it or even on it. Like sometimes like let's say here's the clay, right? Sometimes your sights, here's the bead. It's got to be on it. You know what I mean? So, and where most shotguns, it would be like under it, like right there, you would be making contact. But some of them, they're like on it. This gun, so here, say my hands are the gun body and this is the bead. I had to be like covering it like this. So like you would call for the bird and it would be like up there doing whatever, and you'd have to first see it, then cover it and try to estimate where it was going, and you're covering it and then shooting. It was throwing off my timing. It was throwing off everything. And I think the problem was just that it was hitting so low that I had to cover it so much. I couldn't be consistent with it. And look at the rear. I mean, it has like a rear sight. And this could have been messing me up too. What are you kidding me? What is that? I almost think that that's what was messing me up. Maybe if that was gone, right? And I was just sighting in along a notch in there. There is a notch in there. I could see it right here. Like maybe if I just went with that notch, right? Because then the rear sight would be lower, and that would bring the, no, wait a minute, that would bring the barrel up, right? If this, I always have to go through this. I always have to manually try to figure it out. Like, all right, if this is lower, so if the sight went lower, then you would have to raise up the barrel. No, if this was gone, if this nub here with the crooked cutout, even that's not even on the top of the gun, if you notice. Even that's a little bit over this way. It's not dead center. But if that was gone, then you would have to lift the back of the gun up to get the to make the bead, the front bead, right on the receiver. And if you did that, then it would be shooting lower. And maybe that's what it is. But you know what? I'm not grinding this thing off. I'm not messing with it. I'm leaving it alone. But I don't think that needed to be on there. I think without that, and I just sighted across the top of the receiver, like, just right across here, I think I would be right on. I think I would be hitting them. But anyway, that's the story, ladies and gentlemen. Ward Westernfield. Is it Ward Westernfield? It doesn't say that on it. It's just Montgomery Ward is the company, and it just says Westernfield Model 30. I think there's also the guns under a name Ward. There's other ones. And here, I can throw this out. Look what I came up with this just recently. This Hoosier Gunworks. This is pretty cool. This guy shows cross-references for all of these brands, all of these weird brands like this, right? And it just goes to show how this research is tough. Look, I'm going to show you. Here's all the Sears ones. Look at all these Sears. Wow. Sears has a lot of them, man. These are all Sears. But when we get to, here's Western Auto. See, here's where there's just Wards. All right, here's Westernfield, okay? So Westernfield, here's those numbers we were talking about when it looks like that. So here, 25 EKN 165 Kessler. It says Kessler. You see along here, you don't see any other Kesslers. There's one up here somewhere. Where he just has a question mark. He doesn't know what the hell it is. That's a Westernfield 151X. Remember I told you 15K, right? 151X. I don't know. Maybe that was some middle ground one where they, I mean, who knows? But that's listed as a Kessler where he doesn't know what model that thing was. But this one, the EKN 165, is a Kessler 30C. That's the one with the adjustable choke. So evidently that had a different number because we were at EKN 163, I think, right? Where were we at? Whatever. You see, there's a lot of these EKN 160 something numbers. There's going to be a whole bunch of them. But look, even you're doing research, you're hardly, all you're coming up with is like one number for a 30C. There are a whole bunch of these, And of all these Western fields, look, all of those and all of these, where do you see Kessler? So Mossbergs, Nobles, Stevens. Look, and it goes on. Here's more Westernfields. Where's Kessler? Oh, here's a couple. Oh, these are the Levermatics. Westernfield 714 and 715. I'd love to find one of those because I don't care. It doesn't have to be the Kessler Levermatic. Here's one in 12 and one is 20. Where's the 16? Not even listed here. But these two Kesslers. So now I know the Western Field models. You see a Western Field 714, 715. Those are the Levermatics. And look again here. It's just, where's this? They don't list any of these other Kessler models here. I'm not saying he did great work here to come up with this reference. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is how hard it is to do the research. Hard for him too, you know. And yeah, there we are. We're at an hour. I can't go over an hour on this guy. But man, is that research? Do you realize what I went through? I mean, look at these. Look at these different materials. Look at all this stuff, and I make notes on them. Look what I go through here. It's insane. These gun racks were really cool. These gun racks, supposedly, there's a lot of rumors that they were giving away these shotguns at some point. And it was like some people that said Kessler was a furniture store. And they definitely made these gun racks. Look, over here are two Levermatic. Well, I had read they were Levermatic, but these don't have levers. These are just two gun stocks here that are the sides of the gun rack. They sold those. Kessler actually sold those. Crazy. Yeah, you're gonna have to take over from here and continue with the research, because it never ends. And if I wanted to do another week's worth of research before I made this video, I would be able to do it, and I'd come up with more. But this internal magazine is the way to go if you're looking for one. I haven't heard anything bad about the 12 gauges, so I guess you can go with those. Nothing was exploding. Might have a little problem with the extractor. Other than that, and you might not hit anything, but you could win your own Milsurp Garage Unbroken Clay Award. This is gonna be hanging on the wall with this right next to it. This is going to be the official worst performing shotgun for me. I'm not saying it's the worst performing shotgun I have. I'm just saying I cannot hit anything with it. I don't know where they're going. I'm looking back at the puller going, what? I feel like calling up the ammo company and being like, are you clowning me? Are you punking me by putting like powder in here and nothing else? Is there just a wad flying out and nothing else? I couldn't believe I wasn't hitting them. I don't know what's going on. I'm like I shoot 20 something every game, and I was getting single digits with this thing. So if I want to shoot terribly, if I'm shooting with a brand new person and I want to don't want them to feel bad, I would just bring this out. That's what this for. That's what this is for. And the Milsurp Garage Unbroken Clay Award will be hanging on the wall next to it. And everybody, that's a wrap for the Western Field. First Western Field I ever bought. First Montgomery Ward branded product. I would buy more. Let's get in there. Let's get some Montgomery Wards up on the table. Listen, I got some cool stuff on the way. A lot of cool stuff has been just getting dumped in my lap, and I'm ready to make some videos. Let's put it that way. I'm ready. And we'll see you guys soon with the next cool thing. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. And see you all soon.